Hey sports fans, Kris Corey here, back with New Brunswick's favorite sports talk show, Across the Line. First show of 2023, and we got a great one for you. Still reveling in the afterglow of the 2023 World Junior Championships held here in Moncton and Halifax. We got a great show for you. We have got Brandon Crow from Hockey Canada. Give us a little recap of the tournament and his thoughts on being in Moncton here over the holidays. Not to mention, we're going to catch up with Will McLaren, who caught all the action down in Halifax. Going to be a great show. Let's get it started. All right, happy 2023 sports fans. Glad to be back in studio talking sports. First part of the year, great to kick it off, and what better way than coming off a very successful World Junior Hockey Championships held here in the Maritimes. Kudos and hats off to everybody in the organizing committee and who attended the games. Certainly a world-class event. That's why we're going to be catching up here with some representatives from Hockey Canada here to sort of get their thoughts and comments on how well the event was received and how happy they were and pleased with both Moncton and Halifax here in hosting. So, like I said, a lot of positivity around the rink. Great to see, the Avenir Centre here full to capacity, as well as the Metro Centre in Halifax. Great to see some great hockey, all games, very well attended. Caliber of play was excellent. Fast hockey, well-structured, well-disciplined, close games, some hockey that kept you on the edge of your seats. The couple games that went to overtime into the shootout, certainly entertaining the fans here, and get to see some world-class hockey locally, and a great way to spend the holiday. So great opportunity that we don't get here very often in the Maritimes to catch that type of action live here. So a lot of people commenting and still sort of talking about the World Juniors. And really, I think it's a compliment or a statement on how well received it was by the two host cities in Moncton and Halifax, and how great of a job it was for the Maritimers to sort of get this tournament back on track. The last couple of years, obviously with COVID, the World Juniors hadn't been as exciting or as well received here as the last couple of years. Everything that was going on with Hockey Canada at the time, this was sort of the reset that the IIHF needed, along with Hockey Canada, and both Moncton and Halifax came through in a big way with how the crowd reacted, and obviously how often Heave Away was played over the radio and the sound waves every time Canada scored a goal or secured a win. So, really, I think it's a testament to the fans and the Maritimes themselves sort of being the heartbeat or the soul sort of maybe of the nation in getting this tournament back on track and generating that excitement here and cheering Canada on to a gold medal. Obviously culminating, in Halifax with a big 3-2 overtime win over Czechia. Things got a little tight there late in the third. 2-goal lead. Czechia tied it up. And speaking of that gold medal game overtime winner, we had a chance to catch up with Team Canada defenseman Zach Ostapchuk after the game. Let's check it out.
Two-time gold medal winner. How's it sound?
Oh, it sounds amazing. That was my goal coming in here. I wanted to have that title. So, to get that accomplished with these guys, and then you have a couple more guys that are repeat. So, it's very nice.
What were the emotions like? Obviously, you have a 2-goal lead, very similar to the Finland game in the summer. You lose a 2-goal lead, you have to win in overtime. Just what was it like having to almost go through it again?
Yeah, it was a little bit of deja vu there for me. Obviously we're confident in our group going into overtime, but yeah, it's a roller coaster, and I'm just really happy we were able to get that goal.
Just how special has Connor Bedard been this tournament?
Oh, he was crazy. All tournament, that guy he was on a different level. I think he really just cemented himself as a star. So, I'm really proud of him and the way he was able to handle himself. So, I'm really excited to what the future holds for him.
The two tournaments were very different in terms of attendance. Just what did the Halifax crowd mean to what you guys were able to achieve?
Oh, they were massive. They brought energy for us at times. Like when we were kind of deflated a bit, they would bring it for us, and we'd want to get them in and make them loud, and they did a really good job.
The place was shaking when you guys scored in overtime. What did it feel like out on the ice?
Oh, it was crazy. Everybody kind of blacks out. I think I'm just looking around, and everybody's jumping off the bench, so I didn't really hear it. But it was almost so loud where you didn't hear anything. You couldn't hear the guy next to you. So yeah, it was a crazy feeling.
I don't know if you noticed, but the crowd didn't stop when they scored their second goal. The energy kept up. Did that make a difference for you guys out there?
Yeah, like I said before, I mean, when we're deflated, sometimes they bring us back into it. I mean, they did a really good job at that. They have our backs, and yeah, they were really loud for us. So.
Some great footage there post overtime win in Halifax. And like you said, hot crowd, and really that's what brought it for Team Canada with the energy level. Obviously, the tournament in Edmonton in the summer, it was what it was. Not as jam-packed as it was in Halifax here or in Moncton. But that energy, that crowd is really what made the World Juniors to start with back when it started out, small time, out in Regina and in the prairies here starting out in Canada. And, when it started to pick up in the early 90s, I guess it was. Obviously, the tournament's been going on here since the 70s. But once it started really gaining momentum sort of through the Lindros years and being televised, that's really where, the tournament really flourished. And a lot of comments sort of going on, should it be held in junior markets throughout Canada as opposed to the big cities? Would that tournament have been as well received if that was in Toronto over the holidays or in Vancouver? Obviously bigger markets, bigger stadiums, but like I said, I think the 10 to 12,000 seat stadium, that atmosphere is really what that tournament needs, and that's sort of what sort of brought it back to life here, I think, with the showing here in Halifax and in Moncton. So a great way to sort of get that tournament back on track. We'll see which city's hosting here next when it comes to Canada. But before we go too far, still on that gold medal game, one of the biggest reasons Canada was able to secure that win over the U.S. and over Czechia, U.S. being in the semifinal, was that the goaltending performance here of Thomas Milic out of nowhere, out of the WHL, undrafted, but he really stepped up in a special moment for him after the win when you're standing on the blue line and the crowd's chanting your name. Pretty special moment for him and his parents at the arena to pick up the big win in overtime and to be awarded player of the game and such here for that performance. So let's catch up here with Thomas after that big win in the gold medal performance.
What's it feel like?
It's incredible. I can't stop smiling for the past hour now. Just so happy for myself and everyone else too.
What was the moment like when you saw them going down on the 2-on-1?
Oh man, I was just praying that it finally ended there. It was pretty stressful overtime, so I'm glad we got it done there.
So last night was the best moment of your hockey career, maybe your life. What's this?
Oh, this tops it for sure. Yeah, it just keeps getting better. So I'm just gonna enjoy it tonight with my teammates and my family, and we're just so happy.
What do you remember about this group of players? You guys will never be together on the ice again.
Oh, yeah, I don't know, just every moment together. I think right from day one, we really gelled as a group, and I think a lot of us played together with the under-18s as well, and I think just the chemistry and how great everyone got along.
How did your group after we talked about the 2 goals going in early against the U.S. How did you reset after the 2 goals go into the third period?
Yeah, same thing. I don't think there was ever a doubt in my mind or anyone else's mind that we didn't have it in our pocket. So I think we just stuck to our game plan, and goals kept coming, and eventually it worked in our favor.
You played against Connor. What did you learn from being around him on a daily basis?
And she's just a professional already. He's so good at everything he does. The way he prepares, and the way he looks at the game and studies it. So it's just incredible to see a mind like that at such a young age.
You might have to play against him coming up in the rest of the season. Will he be even better from having gone through this experience playing, standing out with NHL guys already?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we actually play Regina tomorrow. I doubt any of us will be in the lineup, but yeah, I think our flight lands at 4 and game's at 7, so you never know. But yeah, he's incredible.
What do you think it's to be going up against him now moving forward from having gone through this? I mean, he was already a great player. Can he be even greater?
Yeah, I think the ceiling's infinitely high for him. He's an incredible player, and he keeps showing time after time that there is no limit to his game.
What about Shane's performance tonight?
Oh, I'm so happy for him. It's his birthday today, so happy birthday, and he incredible goal by him. We're all so happy for him. He's been great for us this whole tournament.
How was the overall experience here in the Maritimes?
Oh man, incredible! Right from day one, everyone's been so welcoming to us, and the city, the fans, everything's been incredible. No complaints at all.
Hunter refused to answer questions about himself. What's that say about who he is as a teammate?
That says it all. He's just such a team-first guy, and he'll do whatever it takes to win. And I think you can probably ask just about every guy on this team, and they'll give you the same answer.
What's it mean to do this and bring your family?
Oh, man, I'm so happy, not just my family, but I have so many people back home in Coquitlam that can send me messages, so I'm just so happy to be able to, a little tribute for everyone back home.
What's 3-on-3 overtime feel like for you? You've now experienced it a couple times.
Yeah, it's fun. I've played it a million times in practice, small area games, ever growing up, so, I kind of think of it a little like that, just, trying to have fun, and, every once in a while you might need to make a big save, but, I think we did a good job of putting it away today.
All right, some great footage there from the gold medal game. And continuing on that trend, very pleased to be joined by Brandon Crow here with Hockey Canada, fresh off spending the holidays here in the Maritimes in Moncton and Halifax. Wanted to be able to chat here. Had a great time chatting with him at the Avenir Center. Now we get to sort of follow up and maybe get Brandon's thoughts here on his memories of the tournament and what Hockey Canada took away from hosting a big event here in the Maritimes.
Well, I missed the memo on the dress code. You certainly are well dressed up on this night. I got the Manitoba casual going here. I wore a suit for about a month straight, so it was nice to take it off. I'm wearing sweatpants for the rest of this month. But before I say anything about the tournament, it was my first trip out to the Maritimes. I'd been there about a week earlier for the Para Hockey Cup in Bridgewater, and I didn't know what to expect. I'd never been to any of the Atlantic provinces. I'd never been east of Toronto, and I can't say enough good things about the people. What a time. In both Moncton and Halifax and Bridgewater and everywhere else in between. The people are so fantastic and so friendly, and the pace of life it's just so awesome that had I done it 10 years earlier, and I might consider moving out there. Just what a great place and what a great set of host cities.
And like I said, both cities I think very happy to receive Hockey Canada and all the players and organizers for the tournament. And like you said, you guys giving up your holidays and Christmas and New Year's to be out here away from your families, helping put on a tournament like that. Certainly a big move on your part as well, dedicated to the role. And certainly happy to see you guys in town. So. Great to have you guys. But other than the people, I guess I know there a lot of chat around the rink was, how was that going to be received through Hockey Canada, and what their thoughts were on, I guess, the venue, attendance, and obviously the success here of the tournament.
Well, I think attendance speaks for itself. I don't have the specifics right down to the individual seats sold, but I know that. It was close to 98% of tickets sold in both venues, and the averages were basically full every night. And as we got down to the wire, there were people basically camping out at the Scotiabank Center trying to get one or two tickets at the last minute in the box office. And I'm not sure how many of them did find a ticket, but they were certainly committed to the cause. What I can't even. A lot of people have said to me since I've come home, and my buddies and family and friends have said, what was it like? What was it like? And taking my Hockey Canada hat off for a second, just as a hockey fan, the experience, the fans, the atmosphere every day. And regardless if it was a Canada game or if it was, the Swiss and the Latvians, or Finland and Sweden, or whoever, even the Austrians, the Germans. Everyone was into every game, and I think the quality of hockey we saw made that even easier. The Latvia-Swiss game that went to the 11-round shootout might have been the most entertaining game of the preliminary round, and fans were hooked on every play. And I don't know how many people of Latvian descent are in Atlantic Canada, but people were pulling for the Latvians, and same we saw with when Germany scored. The place went nuts. When Austria got their first goal of the tournament, the arena got pretty wild and crazy for them too. So the fan support, I think, coming out of COVID and coming out of some weird years where there's canceled and summertime and kind of getting back to the traditional New Year's, Christmas, New Year's holiday hockey. I think this is the first time in a long time it felt normal for the fan and for the viewer at home, and probably for the players too. This was just a perfect culmination of everything, venues, time of year, weather, fans, everything. It all came together, and it couldn't have scripted an ending any better than it did.
Great job with the tournament, all the volunteers as well. You guys did an excellent job, and like I said, look forward to catching up with you in the future and hopefully seeing you back here in Moncton. And welcome back, sports fans. Continuing with our recap of the very successful gold medal winning Team Canada here at the World Junior Championships. We are going to the man on the scene in Halifax, our buddy Will McLaren. There he is, looking good. Happy New Year, Will.
Happy New Year, Kris. Happy to see you and happy to connect with the folks back home as well. It's been great down here, and I know the tournament was a success up there as well. So just good times all around, and hopefully something we don't have to wait another 20 years to see crop up here in the Maritimes.
No, judging with the comments here from Hockey Canada and TSN, the tournament very well received here in the Maritimes, and a little birdie told me there was a few other big things coming this way here in the next year or two. So looking forward to seeing some continued world-class events here in the Maritimes. But like you said, you got to catch the Team Canada pool here down in Halifax through the round robin and into the finals in the gold medal game. Some of your thoughts basically on Team Canada itself and the excitement down there at the Metro Centre.
Well, it's funny. I was just talking to somebody else about this last night, Kris, and kind of the consensus between the two or three of us was I'd be curious to know how that tournament would have went if Canada had not lost on Boxing Day. Yeah. I think that a couple of big changes came out of there. The replacement of goaltenders, putting Thomas Milic in, as we all know now in hindsight, was a tremendous idea, and he shone at all the right times. If it wasn't for a couple of big saves in quarterfinals, or even the gold medal game, we're probably singing a different tune about that Canadian team. And, keeping it to a QMJHL perspective, the fact that Joshua Waugh, for the second tournament in a row, ended up being promoted from checking line duty to top six and on a line with none less than Mr. Bedard himself. Two of the biggest things I think that happened throughout that tournament, they happened early, and I think from that point on, not only did those decisions help change the fortunes of Team Canada, but I think it also helped sway the momentum their way. If there's a lot of other smaller in-game things that occurred, but those are the two that will always stick out for me anyway, in terms of what really started that team on their path to gold.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And like you said, first game in, sort of a bit of a wake-up call for them. But that first round loss or first game loss to Czechia, I think they gave up a couple goals. They had a 5-minute power play that they gave up, I think, 2-1, and really didn't recover from that through the rest of the game. But like you said, a couple guys that stood out all tournament, obviously Bedard and Wright, two of the bigger names. But the guy at stock who probably rose the most being Joshua Roy, if not Milic.
Yeah, definitely. What's funny about Joshua Waugh, again, the fact that he did it 2 times in a row in this tournament within a span of only a few months.
Yep.
Back in the summer in Edmonton, he was, fourth line, third line to start that tournament. And it looked like he was probably going to stay on the checking line in Halifax as well, talking to Stéphane Julien, the assistant coach for Canada, and his head coach in Sherbrooke with the Phoenix. He alluded to the fact that was the best line coming out of camp, that checking line, the all-Q checking line of Waugh, along with Nathan Gaucher and Zach Dean.
Yep.
And after that loss to Czechia, they had no choice but to shake things up, and he was the obvious candidate based on his play in that game. Milic, goaltending was question mark coming into that tournament for most teams, really. And he certainly answered the bell whenever required. And I think I'd be remiss if I didn't give a bit of a shout out as well to another Q guy, another Sherbrooke Phoenix guy in Tyson Hines, who started that tournament as the 7th defenseman. And very quickly rose through the ranks, and the coaching staff quickly put some trust in him, even when some of the bigger guns misfired a little bit throughout that tournament. Guys like Olin Zellweger and Ethan Del Mastro and Brant Clark, who were good, but I think maybe weren't quite as good as what some might have expected. A guy like Tyson Hines was able to eat up minutes when it was required, and a big glove save actually preventing a goal in that quarterfinal in that quarterfinal against Slovakia, doing little things like that really helped Canada's cause. It's just nice to have that extra tool in the toolbox for the coaching staff at a time when they had to turn to somebody.
No, exactly, and that's like you said. That's sort of the beauty of tournaments like this here, where there's obstacles that you have to overcome and challenges. Like you said, losing your first game to Czechia and that quarterfinal game against Slovakia as well. You know, could have gone differently if a few things didn't go their way. What were some of your thoughts of Canada being resilient and sort of being able to overcome some of the obstacles here that were presented in front of them?
I think some of that goes back, Kris, to that same comment about losing on Boxing Day to Czechia.
Yep.
I think it was a wake-up call. And the schedule overall in the round robin, I think it was really tailor-made for Canada to gain that momentum because everybody got their legs underneath them against Germany and Austria.
Yeah.
Two games that were, you never want to say anything's guaranteed, but that's the next best thing to a guaranteed game. Those two games, anyway, were for Canada. By the time they got to New Year's Eve against Sweden, they looked a lot more composed.
Yep.
They were playing with a lot more cohesion and a lot more poise as well. And I think we did see that throughout the Slovakia game. They hit a lot of posts. They dominated possession at times. Slovakia was a lot more opportunistic on their chances. And Canada hadn't quite faced a dilemma like that. They were outplayed by the Czechs on Boxing Day. They weren't necessarily outplayed by the Slovaks. They were just tied with a team that they shouldn't have been tied with, and they found a way to overcome that and get the win. So it was kind of complex game by game, which is how these tournaments go. They had to find a different way to win virtually every single time, whether it was by blowout in the round robin against Germany and Austria, whether it was just a full 60-minute effort against Sweden, or coming up against a very opportunistic team with a hot goaltender in Slovakia.
Yep.
With the exception of the opener, they found a way to get it done every single night. And anybody who was there and anybody who was on the ice would tell you that that little bit of extra push that may have been required at times, the crowd more than delivered in that regard.
Well, and that's what a lot of the players had mentioned was, even when they were down, the crowd sort of picked them up and didn't let them fall into that lull or that danger zone. But like you said, after that opening day loss, that game against Germany, I think they popped 5 on that 5-minute major power play and really blew the doors open on that game and really helped, I think, their confidence going into to Sweden and then into the quarterfinals. So some other guys that stood out, I mean, you get to see it up front and personal. We got to see Wright and Bedard up here pre-tournament and some of their chemistry. They had them playing together on a line at that point. But just the shot from Bedard and what he brings to the table and how much a guy like Shane Wright sort of needed this tournament to maybe get some positivity back in the sails there going into the second half of the season.
I think the most important thing, Kris, about Shane Wright is he had his best game of the tournament in the final.
Yeah.
And I think it speaks volumes to the type of game that Shane Wright is known to play, and the type of game he's going to have to play, both as he finishes his junior career in Windsor and as he embarks on his first full season in the NHL next year. As far as Connor Bedard, I've had a number of people ask or discuss, who does he remind you of? And my answer is kind of nobody. He's his own animal, so to speak. He has, he has the ability. The skating ability is good. He's not the 200-foot guy that maybe a Crosby is. He's not the absolute speed demon that a McDavid is. He's kind of like a Patrick Kane in the way that he plays in all three zones, but he has a shot unlike anything I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And at the age of 17, no less. I'm including pros in that count. The way he's able to cradle the puck, the way he's able to release it off the end of his blade, the way he's able to choke up, have his hands like very close together on the stick. He's just doing things that we've never seen before, and he's revolutionizing the way that people are probably looking at sticks, shooting, just overall points of release. It's quite amazing when you think about it. And the one thing that I'm wondering is anybody going to be as good as him coming down the pipe, because he has really set the bar very, very high. And most importantly, he's the sort of guy who just wants to be out there in every clutch situation.
You know, one of the biggest sporting moments that we're going to see here in the Maritimes, and hopefully we can see the tournament back here sooner than later. So appreciate the time, Will. Great seeing you. Happy 2023, and look forward to chatting some more hockey with you here in the future.
Always a pleasure, Chris. Happy New Year.
Awesome.